Hi, everyone. My name is Ashnita Maxton, and I'm a PhD graduate at Texas Tech University. The title of my poster is Association Between Forgiveness and Suicidal Behavior Among College Student Drinkers as Mediated by Resentment and Psychic. Suicide remains one of the leading causes of death among young people globally, particularly those between 15 to 29 years, a demographic that includes the majority of college students. Studies have found that alcohol use, problems, and dependent symptoms are significantly correlated with suicidal ideation and risk among college students. Furthermore, empirical evidence has consistently supported the role of forgiveness as a protective factor against suicidal ideation and as a predictor of reduced alcohol use-related problems, thus supporting long-term recovery. Although forgiveness, especially forgiveness of self, has been associated with better outcomes related to mental health and psychological well-being in the context of both addictive and suicidal behavior, much of the existing literature has examined these associations in isolation from one another, with little work examining suicidal behavior in the context of addictive behavior. Our general hypothesis was that multiple dimensions of forgiveness, that is, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and forgiveness of uncontrollable situations, would be associated with lower levels of resentment and psychic, leading to lower levels of suicidal behavior among college student drinkers. The participants were 944 undergraduate college students who completed a set of self-report measures. The mean age of the participants were 20.53 years. Majority of the participants were female and white. Serial mediation analytical techniques consistent with Hayes was used for this analysis. All the measures that were used for this study had good psychometric properties and good reliability as well. So now discussing the results and discussion, the model accounted for 36% of the variance in suicidal behavior, including 7% of the variance attributable to the mediators, which were resentment and psychic. The results revealed that the association between forgiveness and suicidal behavior was mediated by resentment and psychic in sequence, such that higher levels of forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and forgiveness of uncontrollable situations each operated through lower levels of resentment and psychic, which in turn were associated with lower levels of suicidal behavior. Furthermore, there were no specific indirect effects between forgiveness dimensions and suicidal behavior through resentment. But forgiveness of self was associated with lower levels of psychic, which in turn was associated with less suicidal behavior. Similarly, forgiveness of uncontrollable situations was also associated with lower levels of psychic, which in turn was associated with lower levels of suicidal behavior. However, forgiveness of others was associated with higher levels of psychic, which in turn was associated with higher levels of suicidal behavior. Overall, resentment and psychic mediated the association between multidimensional forgiveness and suicidal behavior among college student drinkers. This study demonstrated that having more forgiveness of self and forgiveness of uncontrollable situations can be beneficial as it is associated with less suicidal behavior through its association with resentment and psychic. Conversely, the association between forgiveness of others with suicidal behavior was deleterious in the context of psychic among college student drinkers. One possible explanation for this finding may be due to pseudo forgiveness. Overall, these findings highlight the importance of multidimensional forgiveness in mitigating resentment, psychic, and suicidal behavior among college student drinkers. Tailored forgiveness-based interventions aimed at reducing resentment and psychic may benefit college student drinkers who are at risk of suicide. There were some limitations. The data that we used was cross-sectional data. All the participants were undergraduate students, and the measures that we used were self-report measures. Thus, we had self-report data. And lastly, our sample was demographically homogeneous. The references for this poster are available upon request. Thank you for listening to me. And please let me know if you have any questions, and I would love to hear your feedback. Thank you.